Week 5 instructional video. The topic for week 5 is all about markup, mark on, and markdown. At the end of this lesson, the learner will be able to differentiate markup, mark on, and markdown, obtain markup, mark on, and markdown given the price of a product, solve problems involving markup, mark on, and markdown. Have you ever wondered how the owner of a sari-sari store computes for the selling price of their products? Well, some say that they just make a markup of 1 peso or 2 pesos depending on the cost of the product. But in this lesson, we will be discussing how we compute for the selling price of a given product. Before we go to the computation, let us first know the basic terms. Cost price. It is the price that a company or store has to pay for the goods it is going to sell. Or it is the price that has to be spent to produce goods or services before any profit is added. For example, a sari-sari store owner in your barangay bought sardines that it is planning to resell at a local grocery store for 12 pesos and 75 cents. The cost price for the sardines is 12 pesos and 75 cents. Next, operating costs. It is the price per unit incurred relative to the production and sale of a commodity. Operating costs in a sari-sari store would include electricity expenses. For example, if you're selling frozen goods in your sari-sari store, you need a refrigerator being powered by electricity, of course. And since it's hot in the Philippines, you would also need an electric fan for you to be able to sell conveniently in your store. So, this expenses does not form part of the commodity, but it is needed in order for you to sell your commodities. Selling price. It is the price at which the commodity is sold per unit. For example, the sardines with a cost price of 12.75, you're going to sell it at 15 pesos. So 15 pesos is the selling price. Profit. It is the money earned after the cost price and the operating costs are accounted for after the sale of a commodity. So to compute the selling price, we have cost price plus operating costs plus profit. Let us have a sample problem. Marjorie would like to resell bags she purchased from Shopee for 700 pesos each. If the operating cost is set at 10% of the cost, and she would like to have a 5% profit on the cost of each item. Help Marjorie determine the selling price for each bag. Determine the markup price for each bag. The given would be the cost at 700 pesos, operating expense at 10% of the cost, and profit at 5% of the cost. So selling price is equal to cost plus operating expenses plus profit. Cost is 700 plus operating expenses is 700 multiplied by 0.1 plus profit is 700 multiplied by 0.05. So this will be 700 plus 70 plus 35. So the selling price will be 805 pesos. Next, we have to determine the markup price for each bag. So this is 805 pesos minus the cost of 700. So the markup is 105 pesos. So what is a markup? Markup is a difference between the selling price and the cost price. It can also be defined as a sum of all expenses and profit. So this is the formula for markup. Markup, selling price, minus the cost price. Markup can either be based on cost or based on selling price. Let us have this example. Eggs originally cost 5 pesos and 50 centavos each in the supermarket. Aling Nena sold it for 9 pesos each in her sari-sari store. Determine the markup. So the selling price is equal to 9 pesos and the cost is equal to 5.50. Markup will be equal to the selling price minus the cost. So markup is equal to 3 pesos and 50 centavos. Next, let us determine the markup based on cost. Markup rate based on cost. So the markup is 350 divided by cost because it is based on cost and your cost is 550. So your markup rate will be 350 divided by 550. Markup rate will be 63.64%. So there are two types of markup. Markup can be based on the cost and markup can be based on the selling price. In this example, we will be determining the markup rate based on the selling price. The markup rate based on the selling price will be computed as follows. 350, which is the markup, divided by the selling price, which is 9 pesos. So 350 divided by 9 is equal to 38.89%. Notice that the divisor will be based on what is the basis of our markup. So if it is based on cost, our divisor will be cost. If it's based on the selling price, our divisor will be the selling price. There are times when we can sell our items at more than the selling price, and that is what you call the peak selling price. When are these times where we can sell our items at more than the regular selling price? Example is when we have special occasion like Valentine's Day, wherein we can sell flowers and chocolates at more than the regular selling price. All Saints Day, wherein we can sell flowers and candles at more than the selling price, and Christmas Day, wherein we can sell gift items at more than the regular selling price. So, this is what you call mark on. Mark on is what we put on top of the regular selling price to be able to get the peak selling price. Let us have an example. Alucard is selling banana Q at the price of 12 pesos per stick on a regular day. However, because of the recent storm, the supply of banana becomes limited. Due to a higher demand and limited supply, Alucard decided to sell his banana Q at 18 pesos. Determine how much was the mark on imposed and how much was the mark on rate. The peak selling price is 18 pesos and the regular selling price is 12 pesos. So mark on is equal to peak selling price minus the regular selling price. So mark on will be 18 minus 12 or simply 6 pesos. Next, we determine the mark on rate. Mark on rate will be mark on divided by the regular selling price or 12 pesos. So mark on rate will be 50%. Sometimes we need to sell our items at less than the selling price or what you call the sale price. Why do we need to sell our items at less than the selling price? For example, our items are already outdated. It's not already in fashion. So we need to sell them at the sale price. Another thing is when our items are old or worn out and when our items are near expiry date. So we need to dispose these items faster. That is why we sell it at a sale price. So markdown is selling price minus the sale price. Let us have an example. Mr. Dup was able to buy a cell phone at 11,500 pesos, which was originally sold at the price of 13,100 pesos. How much was the markdown of the cell phone? Compute for the markdown rate. The regular selling price of the cell phone was 13,100. The sale price was 11,500. So the markdown will be the original selling price of 13,100 minus the sale price of 11,500. So the markdown is 1,600 pesos. The markdown rate will be 1,600 pesos divided by the original selling price of 13,100 pesos. So the markdown rate will be 12.21%. If you have any questions, please feel free to send me a message. And thank you for listening to this instructional video.